Thank you for your interest in Gemini Letters. In over 20 years of service to sign companies, we've received many questions about the proper installation of plastic and metal letters. The Gemini letter installation video has been created to answer most of your installation questions.
If you need any further information, please don't hesitate to give our customer service people a call. Quality letter installation starts with understanding your customer's needs. That job is made easier with tools like this free Gemini sample kit, which is complete with easy-to-read brochures, color chips, and a variety of letter samples. These sales tools help your customers more efficiently choose the style, size, and color of their letters.
Your customers have 5 different types of Gemini products to choose from.
Our formed plastic letters and our computer-designed acrylic flat cutout letters come in over 50 styles in 20 standard colors and in sizes from 3 inches to 48 inches. These letters are shipped from our factory within 3 days. Our crisp and clean injection molded letters are shipped the same day that you order them. Gemini also produces a variety of cast aluminum and cast bronze letters and plaques. Most of these have blocks installed for the stud mount. And finally, our art department can custom form many logos, special letters, or characters.
At our factory, we can prepare your letters for installation in a variety of ways. The most basic of these is the flange cut or plain cut. Both of these offer you many installation options.
Plain cut letters are used in a variety of mounting methods, including the rail, weld-on, or being demonstrated here, the block and nail mounting method. The flange cut has an edge which is shaped around the perimeter of the letter. When you order, you can specify the width of the flange, which can go up to 1 inch. This provides a space to drill holes to attach letters directly to the background. For the stud mount method, we install plastic receiving blocks inside the letter and pack the studs loosely for shipment. Plastic perforated pads on a stud are attached to plastic receiving blocks on the letter for the pad mount. This provides a surface to adhere the letter directly to the background. The combination pad-stud mount has both pads and studs to add strength and support for larger letters. We can install L-shaped plastic brackets to provide a pre-drilled hole. These brackets, like most of the receiving blocks, are bonded to the letter with Eastman thinner. This hole in the L-shaped plastic bracket can be put on the outside for plastic bracket outside, or PBO, or the hole can be placed on the inside and the brackets packed loose to be mounted to the surface for the plastic bracket inside, or PBI mounting method. For the wire mount, an acrylic block is mounted to the inside of the letter, and a stainless steel wire is sent along to be inserted into it. The wire has a small loop into which screws, bolts, or nails may be used.
A basic sign installer's toolkit should include these items, which are available from Gemini and most other sign suppliers.
These include a variety of adhesives and cements, plated sheet metal screws, threaded studs, spacers, acrylic strips, and double-faced foam tape. Other tools that you'll need that are available at most hardware stores include a drill, broom, level, ruler, freezer tape, safety glasses, acrylic paints, nails, hammer, and a screwdriver. Another excellent tool is a spacing tape, which is used as a guide and level for mounting your letters.
A full-size mounting template or pattern will be designed for your order at Gemini for $2 per letter.
To create your own spacing tape, measure and mark the edges of your surface on a strip of adding machine tape. Secure the spacing tape to a flat surface and lay out the letters above. Using your artistic eye, finalize and mark the position of each letter. The following spacing tips should help out. Good letter spacing is more than just equal areas of white space. Letters with too little space between them are illegible, and letters that have too much space between them are not perceived as a word pattern. Heavy letters, such as B's and R's, have a strong attraction for each other and must be spaced more openly. Light or open letters, such as I's and L's, have a weak attraction for each other. These must be spaced closer. A general rule of thumb is that the space between the letters should be roughly equivalent to the stroke of the letter. The space between your words should be as large as the width of the letter G or O of the style you're using. It's best to position your letters and create your spacing tape in the shop before going to the job site. Once at the site, place your tape on the mounting surface, making sure it is level and in the exact position desired. Tape it in place at regular intervals to avoid tearing. Attach letters using the tape as your guide and level.
A full-size mounting template or pattern is an important tool for all types of mounting, except pad mount.
To create a mounting template or pattern, produce a strip of paper wide enough and long enough to accommodate the entire word or word combination. Butcher paper or craft paper work well. Secure the paper on cardboard with generous amounts of tape. With the mounts of your letters removed, lay them out using the bottom of your paper as your baseline. Trace around the perimeter of each letter. Attach studs and realign letters over trace pattern and press firmly until studs puncture or mark the paper. At the job site, place your pattern on the mounting surface, making sure it is level, and then secure it with generous amounts of tape. You now have a drilling pattern for holes to receive the studs.
Now that we've covered most of the preparation work, we're going to demonstrate installation methods that can be used on 5 different surfaces. Our mounting recommendations are offered only as a general aid to the signed person. There are a variety of correct methods used by signed people. Let us now show you the basic installation methods demonstrated on a wood surface. First, the stud mount.
After you've positioned your mounting template and drilled holes a 1/4 inch in diameter and about 1.5 inches deep, remove the template and clean and dust out the holes. Insert the studs into the plastic receiving blocks if you haven't already done so. Our standard studs are 1024 zinc plated and come in lengths from 1 inch to 6 inch. Fill your pre-drilled holes with silicone. Then position the studs into the holes and press the letter firmly into the wall. You may want to support the letter with freezer tape for the 18 to 24 hours to allow the silicone to partially cure. Silicone reaches 50% of bond strength at 24 hours and continues to cure to full bond strength for 30 days.
Let's review the stud mount method on this flat wood surface. First of all, you create your template, bring that template to the job site, and mount it, making sure that it's level. Use that template to drill your holes. Then put your studs in your letters, making sure your holes are blown clean, then fill them with silicone. Now mount your letter, putting the letter studs into the holes. Tape that up with freezer tape, and then after the silicone is cured, take that freezer tape off, generally 18 to 24 hours. Pretty easy so far. Let's move on to the pad mount on a wood surface.
After you've made your spacing tape and put the pads in your letters, clean off your surface and the pads. Then put up the spacing tape, making sure it is both level and secure. Secure the pads tightly and apply a generous amount of silicone to each of the pads. Using your spacing tape as a guide, place your letters on the surface. With the pad mount method, you should always secure the letters with freezer tape for the 18 to 24 hours it takes the silicone to partially cure. Freezer tape is recommended because it will stick in humid or cold conditions and won't overstick and leave a residue if taken from the letters within 48 hours.
Let's review the pad mount on our wood surface. First of all, you clean your surface off as best you can using a broom. Tape up and level your spacing tape. Put your pads in your letters and make sure they're cleaned off. Apply silicone generously onto your pads and mount your letter using freezer tape to support it for the 18 to 24 hours it takes the silicone to cure.
Combination mounting methods uses both pads and studs. A variation of the basic combination mount has plain studs on top and pads on bottom called studs with pad balance. After creating a mounting pattern and using it to drill holes, make sure your surface and the pads are clean. After cleaning your surface and your pads, put silicone in the holes and again apply a generous amount to the pads. Insert the letter now, studs first, and press the pads into place. Freezer tape should be applied while the silicone cures. Let's review the combination studs with pad balance mounting method.
First of all, you create your template, bring that to the job site and mount it, making sure that it's level. Using that as a guide, drill your holes and then blow your holes clean. Clean the surface and also the pads of your letters. Put the studs in your letters firmly and fill silicone onto your pads. And now mount your letters, putting the studs in first. And support that letter with freezer tape until your silicone is cured.
And now we'll demonstrate two different mounting methods using plastic brackets. For plastic brackets on the outside, or PBO, start by creating your spacing tape and then use it at the job site with the letters to mark your holes for drilling. After drilling, make sure your surface is clean and either tape or just hold your letters as you nail or screw the letters into place.
Let's review the PBO, or plastic bracket outside mounting method. Design your spacing tape, bring that to the job site, and use that as a level and guide for your letters. Tape or hold the letters into position, and then nail, drill, or screw your letters into place.
For plastic bracket inside, or PBI, the L-shaped brackets are shipped to you loose to be installed to the mounting surface and attach the letter over them. Start again with your spacing tape, position the letters, and trace around their perimeters. Then position each plastic bracket on the edge of the letter and mark the inside holes. Drill the holes and clean that area, and then screw or nail the bracket solidly into place. Apply Eastman cement to your clean letter surface at the position of the bracket and mount your letter. Freezer tape should be applied to keep the letter in place. Let's review the PBI mounting method. First of all, after creating your spacing tape and bringing it to the job site, use that to position your letters and then trace the points where the brackets are to be installed. Then, mark the inside holes on your plastic brackets. Drill holes and clean your surface. Then screw or nail the brackets solidly into place. Apply Eastman cement to the clean letters and mount your letter using freezer tape to support it. With this letter I, we're demonstrating a second type of combination mount, combination all, with adjustable studs through pads all the way around the letter. After you've drilled and cleaned the holes, make sure your pads are adjusted with proper standoff to fit the surface. Standoff is the length of the pad which protrudes on a stud from the top of the back of the letter. On this mounting surface, pads should be adjusted to just barely above flush, which is the top of the back of the letter. Clean the pads before applying silicone to them and then apply it into the holes. Firmly mount your letter and secure it with freezer tape for the time which it takes silicone to partially cure. There are three basic types of combination mounts, and here's a review of the combination all. Besides combination all and studs with pad balance, the third basic combination mount has studs through pads on the top and stationary pads on the bottom. We're now going to demonstrate the wire mount. On this flat surface, these adjustable wires are placed slightly above flush or the top of the back of the letter. Using a spacing tape as a guide, Attach your letters to the background by putting a screw, bolt, or nail through the wire loop into the background. Very simply, place your spacing tape after creating it, position your letters above it, and then attach your letters with nails, bolts, or screws. Don't try this next mounting method on just any letter. Gemini letters are tough, and here's an example of their toughness with our plain cut letters using the block and nail mounting method. First, cut wooden blocks or strips to fit inside your letter, and then glue or with double-faced tape, tape the block solidly into place. Using a 1/16 inch drill bit, drill through the face of the letter and through the wooden block. After drilling, reposition the letter on your background. Drive a nail through the hole and through the surface, leaving the thickness of a matchbook cover between the letter and the background to allow for expansion and contraction of the plastic. Once letters are installed, cover the nail heads with matching acrylic paint.
Let's review the block and nail method. First of all, create your spacing tape and bring that to the job site. Size and then cut wooden blocks or strips to fit inside your letter. Glue or tape these blocks into place. Drill through the letter and the wooden block. Position letters and nail through to surface. Touch up nail heads with acrylic paints. Another mounting method using plain cut letters is the weld-on method.
Using plain cut or flange cut, adhesive is applied around the perimeter of the back of the letter. A 1/16 inch weep hole must be drilled at the bottom of the letter to allow moisture to escape. The last letter and logo on this flat wood surface were mounted with pads. Now let's move on to some more difficult mounting surfaces, like brick. Avoid drilling directly into the brick. Measure from center to center of the mortar and forward that information to Gemini, so we may design mounting method to fit your exact needs. Drilling into the brick requires special drill bits and is very time-consuming. For the flange mount on brick, use a spacing tape to level your letters and mark the spots where the flange hits the mortar. Using a drill bit 20% larger than the screw diameter, drill through the flange to mark the mortar. Then, drill through the mortar. Once you're done drilling, dust off the surface and install plastic anchors deep into the holes. Attach letters with screws, again leaving the thickness of a matchbook cover to allow for expansion or contraction of the plastic against the background. For PBO and wire on brick, measure the center of mortar to center of mortar and order the plastic brackets or wire in line to install at the mortar joints. Brackets or blocks may be ordered loose for your own installation. Tape letters into place with the aid of a level template or spacing tape and position letters on wall to mark drilling holes through bracket or wire. Drill and clean holes to receive the expanding plastic screw anchors. Install anchors and attach letters with screws, again leaving the thickness of a matchbook cover between the bracket and the wall. These again apply to both the wire and the PBO mounting methods.
Pad mount is not generally recommended for the crumbly brick surface, but the combination pad stud mount can add strength to support larger letters. It's very important to keep your brick surface clean for the pads.
Adjust your pads so the letter fits as snug as possible and order studs in line for installation into mortar. Using a mounting template as your guide, drill the holes and dust out the holes. Apply silicone to the holes and to your clean pads. Insert the letter, studs first, and press the pads into place. Use freezer tape to support letter until the silicone partially cures. The main problem with any unstable background like brick or our new surface stucco is in keeping the surface clean and stable. For the stucco surface, pad mounting is not recommended. For PBO and wire methods, brackets and wire should be installed slightly above flush. Drill holes using a spacing tape as your guide. Clean the holes and the surface. Use silicone to install plastic anchors and screw the letter into place. For the stud mount, here's a review on making a mounting template. Trace around the perimeter of your letter on a piece of paper big enough to handle your letter or word. Put the studs in the letter firmly and press your letter over the cardboard to create holes for drilling. After drilling and cleaning holes, apply silicone to them and with your studs firmly in place, attach the letter. Support it with freezer tape again until the silicone cures.
All of these previous mounting suggestions might be enough if all your mounting surfaces were flat. But since they're not, here's some suggestions for some more varied surfaces, such as house siding and corrugated metal. First, let's look at siding.
For wire mount on siding, the wires are available flush or with 1/2, 1, or 1.5 inch standoff and are adjusted on site to fit the depth of the siding. If you wish to install the plastic receiving blocks into the letters yourself, use Eastman cement to secure them. Use a spacing tape to level your letters and mark your drilling points. Drill and clean the holes and then mount your letter. With the PBO, you may use brackets with differing standoff lengths from 3/4 inch to 3.5 inches. The brackets may be ordered loose and installed only where the return or depth of letter meets the high point in the surface, or longer brackets may be used if they must be attached to the low points. It's good to try to get some of the PBOs or wire down to low spots on the siding so that the screw is going into a more solid surface. With the adjustable pad mount, you can adjust the pads up or down to accommodate low or high points on your mounting surface. In order that the pads don't show through on the side of the letter, pads may need to be cut down. Chip away old paint and clean the surface and your pads. Apply silicone to the pads, install your letter, and tape it up. And finally, for the stud mount. Spacers made of aluminum or plastic may be used with longer studs to enter the low points of the surface. Line up your mounting pattern, and after drilling your holes, use the spacers to even your letter on the surface. Apply silicone and mount and tape your letter.
The final surface we're going to demonstrate mounting methods on is corrugated metal.
With the pad mount on corrugated metal, adjustable pads can be designed to fit the high and the low points on the surface. Again, make sure the pads are measured and properly adjusted to the depth of the surface. Clean the surface before mounting and then apply silicone. Install your letter and secure it with freezer tape. Only do the stud mount on corrugated metal if the area behind the surface is accessible for the insertion of nuts. Cut your spacers and use longer studs to make your letter tightly fit the surface. For the PBO and wire, standoff should be equal to the depth of the siding. Use adjustable brackets, longer wires, or spacers to level and attach your letter.
The final mounting method we're going to demonstrate is the rail mount, which is good for mounting a group of letters as a unit to an irregular surface like corrugated metal. Letters may be attached to the acrylic rails using a variety of mounting methods. We're demonstrating the pad mount.
Measure the distance between the center of your pads and adjust the rails to equal that length. Tape down both ends of the rails. Make sure your rails are long enough for the entire word pattern. However, rails should not exceed 6 feet in length due to excessive expansion and contraction of the rail. Clean the pads and surface and use Eastman cement to glue the pads in place. Let the adhesive dry at least 1 hour. Using a level, mark rail position on the high points of the surface. Position your rail and mark drilling points. Drill through the rails with a bit 20% larger than the bit used to drill through the surface. Once your rails have been supported with screws, use the rails as a guide to drill additional support holes on the high points. The word and rails should not end in between ribs. Use a rail long enough to get to the next rib.
No matter what's your installation method, it's reassuring to know that Gemini formed and injection molded letters are guaranteed against breakage in shipment and installation. That's all we have for you on the first edition of the Gemini letter installation video. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to give our customer service people a call. And again, thanks for your interest in Gemini Letters.